anybody knows of anybody. She has a part-time special event assistant that will be helping her. And then our team also manages the Great Hall, and that's also a vacant position. And Margaret Ferguson is our part-time assistant supporting the Great Hall efforts. Our team is really supported by our seasonal help. We have about 13 seasonal employees that help with all event execution, primarily class reunions, since our team cannot be in a million places at once. Our seasonal employees really are boots on the ground helping us run around from event to event. Next slide, please. Okay, so the first question is, what is most important to you about attending a reunion? If you can just put your answers in the chat, that would be great.
We've got connection.
Perfect.
Catching up with classmates. Time with classmates. Social time and seeing classmates. Visiting with classmates. I'm seeing a trend.
Yeah.
Seeing classmates. Miles Manny, class of 2026, says they've not had a reunion yet, but it is a way for everyone to connect and to remember all the memories with classmates. We have a shout out from 91 saying, rekindle the warrior spirit.
Like that.
Gathering with classmates.
Yes. A lot of great comments, a lot of what really our purpose is here is to engage and reconnect with classmates. So for the next slide, and you can still keep typing your answers in the chat because we'll record them afterwards. And that's why we created reunions, right? Really to foster that connection and engagement. So AOG, prior to 17 years ago, we were not involved in the reunion business. That was actually planned by two third-party individuals that were kind of planning reunions, and then it came to the AOG that we should be involved in some way. So we started the reunion planning 17 years ago, and the purpose really was for engagement, bringing classmates back through their alma mater. Who knows their alma mater better than the West Point AOG? So we plan reunions every 5 years. Typical spring reunions are the 50th reunions to the 75th reunion classes. Yes, we are planning 75th reunions, so we are welcoming back those 100-year-old graduates, which is so amazing. And then fall reunions are the 5th to the 45th reunion. On average, our team does execute 14 reunions per year. But we are in 45 reunions in planning mode because we have phases, and I'm going to get to that slide later on. We operate in 6 phases, and all of our phases are overlapping. So even though we are executing about 14 reunions a year, again, we are really planning about 45 a year. Offsite reunions began in 2021 on the heels of COVID, when New York was very restricted. I'm coming back to the academy. So we decided we'll bring the reunions off-site. So we planned a couple of reunions in Texas. And so that kind of started a trend with other classes wanting to explore going off-site. So we've been to like New Orleans, we've been to Colorado. So we do offer that support as well. Of course, we want all graduates to return to West Point, but we are seeing a trend maybe every 5 years going outside of West Point. We have 2 support packages to choose from, and I'll go over what those are. But for the next slide, we're just going to show a short video. Next slide, please.
Attention, West Point graduates. It's time to reconnect and relive the memories that made us who we are. The United States Military Academy hosts 15 reunions annually, honoring classes from their 5th to 75th year milestones. With the enhanced event support package from the West Point Association of Graduates, planning your class reunion has never been more seamless. WPAOG manages every aspect of reunion planning, from setting a detailed timeline to executing the event itself. Our team utilizes historical attendance data to lay a solid foundation, advising your class reunion chair on the best options for hotels, food, and activities. We handle all contract negotiations, including hotel agreements, and ensure you're informed of all critical details before finalizing. Plus, AOG takes care of class communications, registration setup, and collaborates closely with the Directorate of Academy Advancement Office and Chief of Alumni Affairs to coordinate with West Point facilities, guaranteeing a smooth and memorable event. Senior reunion classes get priority, so don't miss out. Start planning your class reunion today and let your association handle the details so you can focus on gripping hands with fellow members of the Long Gray Line.
Great, thank you. So this slide shows the different support packages that we offer. So there's two support packages. It's online registration only. So this pertains to if your class decides that you want to plan your reunion on your own, but you want to use us for online registration, we collect 10% of all monies processed. So that means we're setting up an event website. We're creating an online registration form based off of your budget and your schedule. We're running those reports for you, and then we're doing the financial wrap up, which means that all invoices are paid through the Association of Graduates, so you can use our tax exempt status, and then we're providing you what that wrap up looks like. The other service is the full service event support. It's 15% on all monies processed. So this is everything from A to Z event planning. We're doing it all. We're looking at that historical data. We're still doing the event website, the online registration, the reporting. We're doing communication and email blasts. We're surveying. We're doing all the contract negotiation. We're creating all the applications if you want any mobile apps or hotel passkey, which we'll talk about momentarily. We're doing vendor coordination. We're setting up those hotel blocks, memorabilia, and then on-site event support, as well as the financial wrap. So it's everything you can think of. We're doing it all. We're also we're on site throughout the whole entire reunion. There are some additional fees that are subject to the reunion chair's approval. For instance, if you do want the mobile app, and not every class uses the mobile application, it is an extra charge of $7 per person. And if you do want to use our Cvent Passkey, which is a new enhanced tool that our team was just trained on, it's $6 per person. Cvent Passkey is basically, it's meant to be a hotel booking system. It's a one-stop shop tool where you can register and then book your hotel all through one platform. You don't have to call the hotel directly. AOG is managing that block for you in-house, and then those reservations are being turned over to the hotel. We can talk about that more a little bit later. Industry standard event planning fees are between 18 to 24%. So AOG is really still operating under those industry standards. So we're still operating at 15%, which is below the 18 to 24%. Next slide, please. This question, I think, put in chat. Have you used our reunion planning services? We'd love to hear your feedback. So 95, yes. 87, thank you. 91, yes. 70, yes. Why would you not? Thank you, Ben. Dan, yes, thank you. Wonderful. I love to hear all these yes responses, and I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. 1960, yes, we just completed your reunion. Perfect. Yes, 66. Yep, and 66 actually just launched registration yesterday with our passkey. So thank you, Barry. We'll go to the next slide, please. Thank you, 74. So I'm really happy to hear all these yes responses, and this slide really just speaks to the value that we bring. So our team combined, we do have 50 years of event planning experience. It's probably mostly me and Nicole Corbin, but we do have that event planning experience. So we also offer inside access to West Point. So using us really, it's boots on the ground. Like we have access to the academy and all of the menus on the academy ground. We meet weekly with our DAA office, our Director of Academy Advancement office. We put in our requests through them. We track them very, very closely. We are also heavily involved in the hotel contract negotiation piece. I have to say that this piece really has changed in the recent years. We do partner with a company called Lamont Associates. Lamont Associates is free to us and it's free to you. They handle all of our hotel contract negotiations. She is a spouse of a 97 graduate. She looks at all the hotel contracts and she puts in protection clauses that really will mitigate a clash from going into an attrition situation. She receives a commission directly from the hotel. That commission is not added on to the individual room. So the individual room rate is not being increased by using these services. She receives a commission directly from the hotel. There is another thing, it's called a rebate, where some classes do a rebate where they are charging additional money to an individual's room. But that information has to be disclosed up front to the individual making the reservation. That is a rebate block. AOG does not get involved in rebate blocks. We just do the commission-based block. And like I said, it's not raising the room rate. We have in the past, we've learned a software that's called that Hotel Passkey that I was talking about. It is that one-stop shop where you can register for your reunion and then make your hotel reservation all within the event platform. So when you register, it will actually say if you have a hotel room, and it's basically almost like, I always look at it like a Disney vacation. Like if you're booking a Disney vacation, you can buy your tickets, your plane tickets, your park tickets, your photo tickets, your hotel tickets. Everything is just right there in one platform. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. We're trying just to make everything consolidated so that you don't have to go to the hotel to make a reservation. It's just all going to be in one pass, if you will. We also have a lot of vendor contacts. We are tax exempt and we are using, some classes are using the mobile app and our team is trained on that. I think the biggest value that we bring is that we do all the work so that your class can really just sit back and enjoy your reunion. Your reunion chairs, we do work very closely with your reunion chairs, but you don't have to, the chairs aren't running around doing all like the nitty gritty details. We're kind of handling all of that around for everybody. I just was looking to see if there's any chat on here or questions on here. I don't think. Okay, so next slide. So where do you start? So the first thing is that we need approval on the date from the academy. So your class will decide if you want to come back, depending on where you fall, where your decade falls, between April and May, typically, or in the fall from September to November. So if you're a 50th or a 75th, you'll most likely come back in the spring. If you're a 5th through the 45th, you'll most likely come back in the fall. We have seen some classes switching lately. Some spring classes have decided they want to come back in the fall, and some fall classes have decided they want to come back in the spring. We will look at that. Those are usually one-off requests, but it has been done before. We have done it this year. We've done it in 2025. So you'll just work with the academy to select your date, and once they approve it, then they'll turn it over to us, an alumni event. And you can let us know if you want to use us for support. And if you do, you'll just let us know what package you want to use. Do you want to use the online registration only? Do you want to use the full service event package? So you'll choose your package, and then we'll send you an MOA to review and sign along with the supporting documents that go along with it. Once you've signed your MOA, you'll work with me on the hotel lodging. So I'll go over all of your options. I'll work on the contract with you. I'll stay with you until that contract is complete. And then you'll be turned over to your assigned AOG reunion coordinator to go over the schedule of events and then all of the details that go with it, the budget, the venues, all the logistics. And your coordinator will be with you on site throughout the whole entire planning and on site the day of the reunion events, along with our temporary event assistants. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the phase timelines that we work in. So for a spring reunion, we'll start planning about 18 months out. For fall reunions, it's been a little tricky because we have to wait for the football schedule to be released now that we're in conference. And that football schedule typically doesn't get released until around March 1st timeframe. We're still waiting for the football schedule for 2026. I know, Scott, I'm looking at you for 91, but hopefully soon it will be released. So our planning window is truncated to 7 months for fall reunions. It's a tight window, but we're up for the challenge and we can do it. So the phase 1 is selecting your dates, working with DAA, choosing your event planning service, looking at the hotel. Once we kind of get that done, we move into phase 2, where we're working with the schedule. We're working on your schedule. We're opening up those hotel block reservations. You're selecting memorabilia. You're deciding if you want the mobile app so we can start building it. We move into phase 3, which is finalizing the schedule, coordinating all the logistics, approving the budget. You're ordering your memorabilia supplies. Phase 4 is when registration opens. It's typically 2 months prior to the start date of the reunion. However, if you are going to use Hotel Passkey, we will open registration much earlier because attendees want to make their hotel reservation, usually about 6 months in advance. So we'll open registration and hotel much earlier if you're going to be using Passkey. And then phase 5, we go into an event execution. We're launching the official mobile app so attendees can start using it about 2 weeks prior to their reunions. You can engage with one another. And then phase 6, we're wrapping up. We're sending out the surveys. We're telling you what the final numbers, what the budgets are. So that's kind of the phases that we move through. Once your MOA is signed, these phases, we have fillable dates. So you're going to know when we're working on things. All of this is going to have a date attached to your reunion. So it is very unique. And this is where I was telling you how we're really working on 45 reunions at once because every phase is overlapped with one another. For instance, I'm in phase 4 right now for spring 2026 reunions, but I'm really in phase 1 right now for 2026 fall reunions. I'm in phase 2 for 2027 spring reunions. So everything's just kind of overlapped. Next slide, please. A question for the chat. What is the one factor that prohibits you from attending a class reunion?
We've got work, health, family obligations, other travel plans.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Cost. Okay. Yeah. Family needs. Too far to travel.
Mobility.
Yeah. Great. So we can go to the next slide. So I'll go through some of the top feedback results that we see from surveys. So a lot of it has to do with the hotel proximity to West Point. So as you know, we don't have a large enough hotel near West Point. The Thayer Hotel only has 150 rooms, and class sizes can range anywhere from 35 in attendance for a 5th reunion up to 1,000 for a 50th reunion. Actually, for class of 1976 that we're planning, they had 899 registered as of yesterday. So reunions are very large in size. And where can we fit all of these attendees? They're typically hotels that are about 45 minutes to an hour away from West Point. And I know that that's one of the biggest AARs that we receive from the surveys, that it's too far. The bus rides are so, they're an hour away from West Point. That is one of the challenges that we face, but that's a challenge that unfortunately we really can't get around if a class wants to all be together in one headquarters hotel. The only other option is that you're decentralized into smaller hotels around the West Point area. Cost of events, of course, is another huge factor. This is where I like to say, welcome to New York. New York is a very, very expensive state. And a lot of our pricing is really determined by the service fees from vendors, especially in hotels where you're getting an admin fee on top of your individual food costs. So graduates really can expect to pay between $400 to $700 per person. That does not include their airfare, their rental car, game tickets, hotel. And that's only if they're planning on attending all reunion events. And if they are bringing a guest with them, costs can vary between 800 to 1,000 total. All of that just depends on the type of reunion activity and really that the price set by the class reunion committee. Dining at hotels seems to be another big survey comment. It seems like the value is not really worth the cost. But as I was mentioning with those hotels, it's because of those admin fees that those hotels has that really drives up the cost of those events. And access to West Point is always a little difficult if you don't have a grad pass. But we have been offering cleared manifest. So when you do register online, we are taking your manifest information. We're passing that off to the visitor center to get you cleared before you come on to West Point. And our team will actually be staged outside the visitor center handing out passes so you can get onto posts. So we're really looking at some of these things and really what we can do to maybe help minimize costs. Hotel proximity, that's still a tricky one. We did find a new hotel that is near West Point. It's about a half hour away. They seem a little promising, so we're going to be hopefully working with them in the future. Next slide, please. This slide is very important. I just want to point out that we do not profit, AOG does not profit from reunions. On average, we bring in about 220,000 from reunions, but for my team, just focusing on reunions, our operating budget is about 800,000. So even though you might see that costs are high, I just want to make sure that we're all aware that we're not making any money. We're really just offering this service to our graduates. Any price that we charge is really just to kind of sustain what we're doing. Our team is constantly growing. We are enhancing our services. So I just want to make it clear that we're not profiting from reunions at all. Next slide, please. So I was going to introduce our reunion chairs, Frank Monaco and Bill Taylor from the class of 70 to talk about their experience and best practices from a spring reunion. And then Amber Dossi will talk about her best practices from her fall reunion. And then we can take questions for reunion. Thank you. Frank, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to compliment AOG on our 55th reunion. We didn't have a 50th reunion because of COVID, so they really called us the 50th plus 5 reunion, and they really made up for it at that reunion. Kathleen Donahue was our POC at AOG, and we made her an honorary classmate because she did such a fantastic job. So I see she's on the Zoom. Thank you again, Kathleen. And also Nicole and Amy were big helps for us. I was a reunion chair for the 40th, 45th, and 4 50ths, which we never had because they were all canceled because of COVID. Okay, and then finally the 55th, and I worked with Bill Taylor. He was my beer truck person for the last one. In case I got hit by a Schaefer beer truck, he would take over. But anyways, everything worked out pretty well. I think some of the best highlights we had were the night before the reunion started. We got together by companies. Okay, each cadet company had the option. We provided them a list of restaurants, and they met at that restaurant. Just cadet companies. Okay, are you going to show that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, reunion check and welcome reception. Cadet companies. This one right here. Cadet companies. And that was really nice. And we got a lot of nice pictures. Bill Taylor's a professional photographer, and we had a couple of photographers there to take care of that. And then we went on to the actual reunion the next day, the next morning. one of the things I'd like to talk about is we did 3 different publications for our reunion. For the 50th reunion, we published a book called The Legacy of the West Point Class of 1970. And there's a thing there. There's a picture of the book cover. Can you bring that up, please? Or do you want me to do it? It's called The Legacy of the West Point Class of 70. Let's see where it is. No, it's not. It's not on the schedule.
Oh, I don't have quick access to it. Sorry, Frank.
You don't? Okay, no problem. Anyways, we had a book called The Legacy of West Point Class of 1970. We did that for our 50th reunion, and that was pictures of cadets when we were cadets and pictures when we're currently still breathing. Those of us are still breathing, and even those who aren't breathing. We put them all in there and had a little summary of what they did in their careers, pictures of the company. Big hit, and we sold that book online, and we still have copies of it down in my basement. We sold about 700 copies of it. Okay, and then we had 2 more books at the 55th reunion, and one of them was called They Served with Integrity. Can you let me share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to share the screen here. Hang on for a second. Let me drag it over there. They Served with Integrity. I'm not able to open it. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so these are my shared files. It's not working. I'm sorry. You go back to yours. I'll stop the share. Anyways, it was a book about the people in our lives that were served in the military. And do you have a copy of that, Amy?
Was it in all the files that
Yes,
you
it was in it. Yeah, the
shared
ones
with
that
me?
I shared. Yeah, it was called.
Yes, in here. We'll
Just a
make
picture.
them all available tomorrow to everybody.
Okay. Anyways, it's a book about our people, our parents and grandparents that served in wars for the United States, and also the lessons learned book, which we did 2 books, okay, which we published and dedicated to the class of 2020, which is our affiliate class, and they were part of the reunion, a big part of the reunion, and we sold a lot of copies of those books. We also made them available for free in digital format on our website. I also wanted to talk about the reunion posters, which AOG did for us. These were by regiments of all the classmates that passed away since we graduated. And these were displayed in the hallways at the facility outside of the restaurants that we ate at. And they were a big hit. They were a big hit. So people could reminisce about our departed classmates as of the 55th. And AOG did that for us. They did a great job. AARs. The AARs, as it was already spoken about after the events were over with, we got a good turnout on the AARs, and most of it was the cost, okay, escalating costs since a few years ago. It went up drastically. But I think we understood the value of getting together with our classmates. For some of us, it might be the last time. Who knows? Company dinners were a big hit, as I said before. And then I want to thank AOG for all the support they did. We used full service AOG. They did everything we wanted them to do, and I can't thank them enough. My contact information is there. Please reach out to me if you need anything. I can provide you with copies of these files if AOG doesn't get them all out there to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
Over to you, Amber.
Hey, thanks, Frank. I like your idea about the small group, the company things. We were actually scrambled in between, so we kind of did sort of similar thing for all of the different events that we were doing. We tried to have the seating areas so that we were by, first company, second company, plebe company, beast company, Buckner company, that sort of thing.
Wow.
To try to do that. We worked with some success, but sometimes people wouldn't read where they were supposed to go, so that was fun. So I had a few just sort of best practices. So the number one thing is we set our priorities. And then sort of use that as our North Star, if you will, for what we wanted to do. So for 95 for the fall, we knew we were going to be on a tight timeline. We toyed with the idea of maybe switching to a spring from the fall and just weren't able to make it work. But what we wanted to be able to do was be one of the only classes on post at the time. We didn't want to be competing for resources with 3 or 4 other classes. Not that we don't love our other classes, but we just wanted sort of first choice of the venues and everything. And so that was our number one priority. And then the second was we wanted one large reunion hotel, which, as Nicole already mentioned, is kind of hard to get in that area. So when you combine those two things, we ended up with a November 22nd date. I'm not sure if that's the latest fall reunion that's ever been had, but it was pretty late, and we got plenty of feedback about that date. But that's just the way it turned out, and we knew that we couldn't control the weather, but we could control our movement in the weather, so that we would be able to go to sort of warm places on post if we needed to. But we set that as our sort of main priority. Wanted to be one of the only 2 classes, and we wanted the big hotel. We've also made the decision long ago, and we do this by surveys of our class. Every now and again, we'll do a survey. And we decided that on the zeros, so if it's a 20th, 30th, 40th, we want to go back to school and be there. But then on the 5s, we're most likely going to go out. So 25th, we were actually with pandemic, so we had a virtual one. So for our 35th, we're planning on going somewhere else. So be curious how that works with the full service. Anyway, so that was my number one sort of lesson learned: set that priority and then stay the course on those priorities. I'll echo, we had great service from AOG. Because of the tight timeline and because we knew we were going back to school, our contact at AOG was Teresa Ridgway. She was phenomenal. And we knew, like, I was having weekly meetings with her before we knew our date. And so because we knew we were going back to school, it was going to be a pretty standard kind of thing. It's not like this isn't repeatable. We do it 15 times a year, and it sort of follows a same kind of pattern. And so what I kept on talking to Teresa about is, like, we could do what you see on the screen there. We had, sort of the general outline of what our agenda would be. We just needed to fill in the specific date and the specific venues once we knew what all of that was. So she was a real resource for that. So while I say it's normally repeatable, there are areas to be sort of out of the box, right? So I like your theme, serve with integrity, Frank. So we also had a theme. We sort of did it as around a nostalgia tour. So let's go back to the 1990s. And so we sort of were very themed around nostalgia. We ended up with a lot of communication that went out on the big dates for class of 95. So on our day, on our grad, the reunion of our graduation, or anniversary of our graduation. So we really leaned into those dates that were meaningful for us. And then we were able to do some out of the box kind of thing. So not only the theme, but also we went on a boomerang tour to New York City the day before for folks who wanted to come in early. And I think we got a lot of good feedback around those small group things that people really could connect and spend meaningful time together versus what feels like speed dating often when you're at the bigger events that are at school. And so we also did what we deemed a Airy tour, which is sort of a play on Swiftie era tour, but it was an Airy tour. We went to a distillery, a brewery, and a winery. And so there were about, 30 of us who went and did that tour in advance. I'd really recommend, if you can do that, for those who are willing to come in and stay for a little bit longer. It makes it nice to be able to do those sorts of things together, carting around. And there's places you can go. I've heard of other classes doing like the boat tours down in New York City and that sort of thing. On our boomerang tour to New York City, we went and saw the Rockettes, which was nice because it was November, so it was cold, and we were able to see the Rockettes, so that was fun. So another best practice is over communicate. We sent out an inordinate amount of communication. We probably leaned a little too hard into ChatGPT helping us be cute on that at times, but we did do a lot of sort of tips and tricks and comments and themed things, just trying to get the engagement from the class. If you wait in between 5 years, we do other sort of things in between, but we were trying to get to everyone, and it was amazing how many people still had never heard about it. Oh, we're having a reunion? We'd had no idea. Even though we'd been sending out, 45 different communications. AOG helps with all of that and sends all of those out. And Teresa was great helping me to theme things. And, she put a top 10, and because we were doing nostalgia, she put in the top 10 songs from back in the 90s. And so we themed some of our messaging around, hey, and by the way, wear the swag. And I think we were like, Vogue it, or things. So she put in like a Madonna song for that. So she made a playlist and movie list and all sorts of things. So that was nice. But over communicate is probably my message there. To that end, also try to keep the class connected in between. So like I said, we've done sort of midway, we didn't use AOG, probably should have, but we didn't. When we had the Arlington games in Texas, we did a couple of mini reunions there. We had, about 100 classmates that were able to come together then. And then we do, and this wasn't our 95 thing. We stole it, I think, from 97 or 98, their idea. But the 90s, we do the 95th day of the year. We will have a class virtual Zoom kind of call. And then we do on the reunion of our graduation, we do the same thing. So to kind of keep that up. And then, but we just try to keep our class really in touch in between, which helps with getting the word out and getting people to join us. And then I'll end with just one last thing. So you won't please everyone. So I was interested in the comments that came back from the survey. You had folks that were both really happy that we were on the bus for that long and able to connect on the bus and, far away. And then folks who thought the bus was the devil and it was terrible and it was horrible. People who were pleasantly surprised by the cost, people who thought it was way too expensive, and people who thought that if we just spent a little bit more, we'd have a much better experience. So you just won't please everyone. So do what you're gonna do as the planner, and let the chips fall. And then also to that same point, most people who don't do the planning don't know the limitations of the planning, right? So we had people who would say, very good suggestion, like, oh, just have the Corps do a parade on a non-football weekend for our class. And I'm like, yeah, that's not happening, but good suggestion, thank you. Or, tell us what the meal will be in the mess hall. Nope, we don't get to decide that at all. And so just know the limitations there and kind of duck off back or water off the duck's back. So for that. And then it didn't matter for us because we were the only class on there, but I have heard tell that when you are one of several classes on post at the same time, it's good for the leaders to have each other's numbers because you can actually solve problems very quickly if something comes out in the weekend, so to know each other. So for those who are going to be one of the 3 or 4 or 5 classes on, actually, I think AOG might implode if we put 5 classes on the same day. I don't think you have enough person power for that, but that was another tip that I think would be really great. So I don't have my name and number up there, but you can absolutely drop it in, Nicole, and let people contact me if they want.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Debbie, did you still want to go through the slide deck or you want to pause for questions?
Sure. Why don't I just go through it really quickly, Nicole, and then we'll do questions.
Okay.
So the next slide, Amy, please. So this is just a reminder of some of the things that sometimes need to be done at reunions, and sometimes our class leaders are not tracking that your constitutions may require you to do one of 2 things. 1, hold elections, and 2, have specific things added to your class business meeting at your reunion. So I just want to encourage you all, when you start the reunion process, to just take a look at your constitution and your bylaws and make sure that you're planning to include those things in your class business meetings at your reunion. And then Amy and I are looking forward to supporting you on various things in regards to your reunion. If we can go to the next slide, please, Amy. So as far as your business meetings go, one thing that I really have loved to see over the last couple of years is the celebrations that some of the classes are really adding to it. A lot of photos, a lot of awards, a lot of milestones. And so please remember that you can have fun at these class business meetings and highlight some of the great things that are going on with your classmates. We have some templates available that some of the previous classes have offered to us by the reunion, so by 25th, 20th, etc. So you can contact Amy if you would like those, so that you can try and use that to build for your template. And then one other thing, as far as class data, so for those of classes that still have people serving on active duty, we work with the Academy to pull data on who's still in the military and who's not, and we can do that for you. We typically put that request in with the Academy around the summertime, and then we will send it to you when we have it so that you can incorporate it. If your class is looking to create something, I see Greg Banners on the line. Greg is the historian for class of 79. He spoke at the Leaders Conference a couple of years ago and has an amazing pictorial graphic of his class's data, which is incredible. And now other classes are looking to replicate that. So if you're looking for some additional data, we will do what we can to help support you so that you can build out something similar. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, reach out to us and we can connect you with Greg so that you can see it It's always a crowd pleaser at the reunions. And then one of the other things that we are looking to do is create a menu for you. If you would like any AOG briefings on any of our 44 programs and services that support the Long Gray Line, just let me know. We have a request, so we have 61 and 66 coming up, and we are going to have teammates talking about memorial articles, memorial support, veteran services, and so we're looking forward to having them in a joint partnership at their reunion learn about some of these key AOG services, and we'd be happy to do the same for you based on where you are in your time since graduation and what would be relevant. We can pull our career services team in to talk with you about some of that for some of those younger classes that are at the 20-year point where people are looking to transition. So just let us know. Next slide, Amy. And I'm going to turn it over to Amy right now to talk about class elections.
All right, thank you, Debbie. So class elections typically run in conjunction with your reunions, as we've been talking about. And so either I will get a hold of you 2 to 3 months prior to your reunion, or you can feel free to get that conversation started. Classes do it a little differently. Some will have a self-nomination period. Others have a slate that they're going to put before their class to vote. And so we can look at your constitution and we can sort of tailor it to what your class's needs are. And we can create the voting platform through Zoho, and so that's safe. It's protected. It's something that we can put different parameters on it to ensure the validity of the voting, and we can send that out on your behalf through Sallyport, or sometimes your classes like to send it out themselves. You can also share it on your Facebook pages. And so we can sort of make sure we capture as many people as we can. And so I'll send out reminders along the way. And then once the voting closes, we will validate it on your behalf too. Our director of data science will just take a look at my math and make sure my mathing is adding up. And then we'll either leave it up to you to notify your class, or we can notify the class on your behalf. So there's lots of different ways that we can do it. And I'm here to serve you, and I'm here to work with you throughout the process. All right, I'll send it to the next slide.
Amy. So this is just a reminder about swag, which for some people is a highlight of the reunion, is getting new gear. And Joe Reed James is our director of retail operations at the AOG. And then we also have Joni Prince, who is our buyer. And they both really look forward to supporting our reunions. They will work with you. And one of their recommendations is that for your committee that you have, for your committee that you have working on the swag, they recommend that you have one male representative and one female representative to make sure that the products are appealing to both, to all of your class members and their spouses. One of the other things that we started last year, so for those of you who haven't been in the reunion cycle recently, they've been doing pre-orders and shipping them out so that the pre-orders arrive at your classmates' houses at least 2 weeks prior to the reunion, which is really great because then people can plan accordingly for weather and activities. And so, and they've been working really hard to make that happen, but it really has been well received by the reunion classes. So if you have any questions on that, their information is on the slide deck. Please do reach out to them. As you can see, they look to start doing this process with you at least 1 year before your reunion. So there's a lot of lead time here to make sure that you can get exactly what you're looking for your classmates. One other thing I just want to mention, because a lot of classes don't actually realize this, and I'd rather make sure you all know it up front. The Use-Made trademark and licensing agreement that went into effect probably about 5 years ago now, does have licensed indicia, including the term use-may, which is included in pretty much all of our class crests. So if you are going to be ordering swag for your reunions outside of the AOG gift shop and some of the other collegiate licensed groups, just be aware that we should ask them to get collegiate licensed for the West Point trademark and licensing so that they are considered legal as far as using your class crest. So I just want to make sure you all are aware of that. And with that, I will open it up for questions with another thanks to Nicole and to Amber and to Frank for adding to this presentation and this webinar tonight. And also to my right hand, Amy, who is always so cheerful and happy to support. So what questions do you all have?
Debbie, it's Mike Yap. Can I take a couple of minutes?
Sure, Mike.
As for one of the comments about funding and the cost being an issue, early on during the 30th and 35th reunions, which I co-chaired, we collected miles for people that needed help to get to the reunion. We also had donors to put into a special fund in case some classmates could not afford to get there. The class secretary handled that on a confidential basis. Our class being one of the older classes, it was important to be uniform. So we worked very closely with Joni Prinz to, over time, create a uniform they wore for parades. Unfortunately, class 67, a lot of funerals. So we have a common tie, class tie, that the gift shop can produce for your class. We have class socks. We have a class crest that most classes have. Anyhow, so if you go to one of our class functions, everybody sort of looks alike. I think for the older classes, that may be important. Not so sure for the younger classes. Another interesting thing we did, we had panels on one of the nights. So a lot of it was medical. So you go through different phases. Orthopods, urologists for prostate. Remember, I'm 67, so they're no women. A number of medical panels of interest to people of our age group. We also had current things like continuing care retirement communities. You know, we're at that age where many of us are now transitioning to continuing care. So I had a crew come in and brief what the different examples of continuing care facilities are, and then an overall view of what it costs. For those that are interested, I ran 4 mini reunions, one to Hawaii when Army played University of Hawaii in Hawaii. I did Albuquerque, which for Balloon Fiesta, which was a fabulous mini. I took my class to Normandy through the AOG, and they are subbed out to the World War II Museum in New Orleans, who did a wonderful job. We're an older class. We did 24 venues in 8 days. We were tired at the end of all of that, but it was a wonderful trip, and the World War II Museum did a wonderful job. They were so impressive that the next mini I did was at the World War II Museum. That was also a wonderful mini. But anyway, I think that does it for what I wanted to say. One other thing. I emphasize at the 55th tours because most of the classmates go to reunions. They go to the reunion. They're doing all the reunion functions, and that's it. They go home. But I wanted tours to show the classmates and their families what the current academy looks like. And that was paired, of course, with the soups brief, so they understood. You know, it's a very different place. Well, for us old guys, what the academy looks like. That's it. Sorry to take the time.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Charlie, sir, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I'd like to ask for a show of hands, if I may, of those who are into Sallyport and using it a lot. 2 or 3, 5, maybe 10. I find it very difficult to navigate Sallyport, and I wish you would send me a run spot run in English, several steps to get into Sallyport, and write a letter or a campaign, as they call it. So Would you take that on, Debbie, by any chance?
Yes, I will definitely talk with Stephanie, who is our Sallyport manager, and see what we can do. We did do a Sallyport webinar last year, so we can do that again as well. It's a great tutorial, so we'd be happy to do that.
I want a piece of paper. I
And a
don't
piece
want
of
an hour
paper.
on Sally on, I want a piece of paper with 5 or 6 or 10 or 11 steps. I used to be able to send a letter to my class with 3 clicks, write it and edit it and send it out through the Illyria server. But the last one I sent out, only 68% people got it. So I need to get a more reliable server. And I think that's at Sallyport, but I can't manage to get in there easily.
Absolutely. We can do that for you, and after you do it once or twice, you're going to throw the piece of paper away.
Well, do I have to, if I have to write it on the Sallyport system, or can I write it on my own computer and send it out?
You can write it on your own computer, but you're going to have to copy it into the Sallyport system.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
This has been
You bet.
interesting.
Thank you. All right, next person I see with the hand up, Amber.
So we use Sallyport, but we also use the Cvent app, not Passkey, because Passkey is like the one-stop shop for hotels, but we actually leaned in hard for our reunion into the Cvent app itself, which is when you're at the reunion, but also before and after. You have like chat functions, you can talk to people. We did games through it to try to drive a lot of like engagement with our class. Obviously, we use it during the reunion too, when like the buses were late and that sort of thing. But it's really powerful, and it's a powerful tool. I've used it for other conferences before, so we knew what we could do with it. I think it's pretty early days for AOG really getting up to speed on how to use it, but they're getting there pretty fast, and it was a good way to engage our class. So just FYI.
Great, thank you for mentioning that, Amber. And I also want to mention one other thing on Mike's comment about money to help offset for your classmates. We have had a couple of classes that have taken us up on creating a flow through using our credit card system, where we can create, Amy can create a form where they can log in. It's just a simple website. They can log in, use their credit card, and it would flow directly into your admin fund. So that can either be done to offset the cost overall, or you can beef up your admin fund to keep those monies in reserve to help those classmates who may need a little financial assistance to get there. The one downside to that is that is not considered a charitable contribution. So we want to make sure you're aware of that, but I'm not surprised at the generosity, but there have been a lot of people who have been very generous in supporting some of the classes that have chosen to do that. So please know that that's an option for you.
Don't forget the miles.
The miles, absolutely. That's a great idea. Let's see. Jeanette, do you have your hand up?
I do, but I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay. Great. I'm not
Wonderful.
seeing. All right, I'm not seeing any other hands up here.
There's lots of information in the chat, so some links are there, some people's contact information, so definitely check that out.
Great. Thank you for sharing this. This is what I referred to earlier that Greg Banner put together for his class. And a lot of classes have tried to replicate this for their own classes. So we can also make sure, and Greg graciously put his contact information in the chat as well. So please go ahead and reach out to him if this is something that you would like to start collecting. To Miles, who is on the line, who is our class of 2026 president. Miles, this is something that you might want to share with your class historian to get them started now and start keeping that all the way through. So by the time you're a 50-year affiliate, it'll be done. All right. Well, I think we've already gone over time. So you all know how to reach all of us if you have any questions. If there are other class reunion chairs that you would like for us to connect you with, please let us know. We are so thrilled again and so grateful to be able to serve all of you. And we just want to thank you again for everything that you do to connect with the Long Gray Line, to connect with your classes and keep them supported. If you have any other ideas about things that you would like us to do for for these webinars, please just let us know. And at this point, we will sign off. And thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good one, everybody. Go Army.
All right.
Go
Thank
Army.
you. Beat Navy.
Thanks, Deb.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you.